Hi everyone, welcome to another video on Baldur's Gate 3. In this video, we are going to be talking about the races. And in the previous video, which I'll link above, is the backgrounds video. And in that, we learned that each background gives you proficiencies in 2 particular skills, and these skills are governed by the ability scores of the 6 different abilities that exist in the game. To break that down a little slower so you understand, basically, you have these abilities, ability points, and abilities are strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Each character has this. The background gives you 2 proficiencies in skills like insight and religion, and it also these are then governed by the ability scores. So as you can see, insight is governed by wisdom, which is one of the abilities, and so is religion, which is again governed by wisdom, I believe, or no, intelligence. So another one of these abilities. So the next step in figuring out the character that you want to build. So before you even start building a character, this is what you need to understand. You need to know what you want to build. You need to know the race that you want to play. You need to know the class that you want to play. And you need to know the background that you want to play. And you need to know how all 3 of these coincide and how they work together. So previously, we went over the backgrounds in the last video. In this video, we're going to do the race. In the next video, we're going to go over the classes. And then I'm going to tie it all together in a video called Character Creation, where I'm going to tie all these concepts together for you to understand. But the details associated with these systems are separated into these other videos. So you can come back and view these, or you can watch the other video once it's all amalgamated together. With that out of the way, please do subscribe. 96.4% of the viewers on the channel are not currently subscribed to the channel. Turn on those notifications. I'm going to be creating a lot of content for Baldur's Gate 3. If you look at my banner, it's changed. I am focusing exclusively on Baldur's Gate 3 moving forward because I love this game. I've been waiting for this game for 4 years, well, 3 years. And I stopped playing it because I didn't want to spoil anything for myself, even in Act 1. I kind of regret that because I don't understand the mechanics. So I'm creating these videos as much for me as for you. So like I said, please do subscribe, and memberships for the channel are also available. If you do want to become a member, do so. It will help me out. You'll get special emojis that you can use during live streams, which I'm doing a lot of for Baldur's Gate 3, and eventually I will be doing subscriber or member streams where we create a party and we adventure together on a specific day for a specific time, and it will be for everyone to join in. So all of that out of the way, let's get into, I know I keep digressing, let's get into, and you'll find that that's something I do often. So let's get into what races you can play in Baldur's Gate 3. So currently there are 11 races. There's human, Githyanki, half-orc, Dragonborn, elf, half-elf, Drow, Tiefling, Halfling, Gnome, not Genome. I know some people pronounce it Genome. I wanted to make sure that I brought that up. It's actually Gnome and Dwarf. So if you watch the video again on backgrounds, you might be wondering if picking a race is as nuanced as picking a background. Well, the simple answer to that is yes. Yes, it is. Because in BG3 or Baldur's Gate 3, you have the ability to assign your ability scores as you would like, right here. So if I clear all of these, as you can see, the max okay, I'm just going to clear everything. Everything's down to 8. Okay? I'll cover this in more detail in a video on ability scores. But for now, that's what you need to know. You can assign your ability points to these abilities, and you can assign these bonuses, which each race gets. So +2 to any one of these, and +1 to any one of these. Now, let's get back to it. So, and the other aspect that makes the race nuanced is the race features. So what do I mean by this? Well, you can pick between the 11 races, which have 28 sub-races, with each of these races and sub-races providing some sort of benefit that the other races may or may not provide. All races do provide, like I mentioned, the +2 and the +1 to ability points, but what other things they offer is very different. So sit back, relax, and with the brief overview and some background out of the way, let's dive into the races in more detail. For the first race, we will start with humans because we're all humans and we're playing this game, and we are the most common face in Faerun. Humans are known for their tenacity, creativity, and endless capacity for growth. So the race traits, which every race possesses, include the +2 to an ability score, and then +1 to another ability score. So in this case, the race or the class is barbarian, so you could add 2 to strength, And then you can't add it as well to strength again. You have to add it to a different ability point or ability score, or ability rather. And in this case, also do constitution, because that makes sense. You want a strong barbarian, right? And then for humans, you get the base racial speed of 9 meters per turn. For those of you that are in the United States, that is 30 feet. And then for the civil militia, you are proficient in pikes, spears, halberds, glaives, light armor, and shields. And then finally, human versatility. You gain a proficiency in a skill of your choosing, and your carrying capacity increases by a quarter. So a skill of your choosing would be right here. So you get to pick one more here as human. So you get 2 of these. 2 more proficient, and then you get 1 more that you can select here. And that's it for humans. It's pretty straightforward. And because we're a barb, we get the rage action, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so that's the race of humans. Next up, the Githyanki. Now, the Githyanki is a pretty awesome race. They're basically the aliens of this world. Githyanki are peerless warriors from the astral plane, known for their legendary silver blades and red dragon mount. They seek the total destruction of mind flayers whose ancient empire enslaved the Githyanki for millennia. As time does not pass in their native astral plane, Githyanki are instead hatched from eggs all across realm space in places called creches. Creches act as hatcheries, training grounds, and shelters outside of the astral plane. They are ruled by the Lich Queen Vlaakith and led in battle by her dragon-riding knights, the Kithrak. You'll learn all of that as you play the game, so a little bit of spoiler there, not much. Let's read what the game says about them. With a ruthlessness born from mind flayer enslavement, Githyanki ride the astral plane atop red dragons, bringing their silver swords and psionic might to bear against any race of the Illithid menace. So, what are the race traits of the Githyanki? Well, they get the +2 to any ability and the +1 like everyone else. They also get base racial speed of 9 meters or 30 feet. And then the Githyanki race also gets an action. It's called Astral Knowledge. This is one of the most powerful abilities or actions for a race, I think, personally, because I can just think of so many uses for this. Basically, it allows you to gain a proficiency in all the skills corresponding to a chosen ability. Now, this is extremely powerful. So let's take a look at what abilities there are, or skills. So we've got athletics for strength. We've got dexterity acrobatics, dexterity sleight of hand, dexterity stealth. Let's see what else is dexterity. So those 3 are dexterity, sleight of hand, stealth, and acrobatics. So if you were to use astral knowledge and apply it to dexterity, you would have proficiency in all of those. So these would not be -1 any longer. So you could create a character that's a completely separate character, and they could have all of these abilities or skills. So just to give you an example, we're a barbarian, right? We're going to have strength, we're going to have constitution. We're not going to have much dexterity because we don't really need it, because it's just related to reflexes and balance. It improves your effectiveness for ranged and finesse weapons, which is not something a barb uses. So what you could do if you wanted to have that, proficiency in sleight of hand, stealth, and so on, you could use astral knowledge at the beginning of your day and get that, and then you would be proficient in all of that, and you could walk around doing whatever you wanted, picking locks. Then the Githyanki also get the Martial Prodigy race feature. It's a lifetime of relentless training, giving them armor proficiency with light and medium armor, as well as proficiency with the short sword, long sword, and great sword. So they're very proficient with these weapons and this armor. And then they also get psionics, Githyanki psionics, which allows them to start with Mage Hand as a cantrip. And you learn Enhanced Leap at level 3 and Misty Step at level 5. And let me tell you, Misty Step is one of my favorite spells in the game. And I don't know if it's not a cantrip. I believe it's going to be a spell that you gain at level 5. but I haven't gotten that far in the game yet, so I can't attest to that. If some of you have, please let us know in the comment section below, and we'll be more than happy to learn that. As I progress, though, I will make sure that I update the information. With that done for the Githyanki, now let's get into the half-orc. Alright, so for the half-orcs, they exhibit a blend of human and orcish characteristics, and their appearance varies widely. Creatures of intense emotion, half-orcs are more inclined to act than contemplate. Whether the rage burning their bodies compels them to fight, or the love filling their hearts inspires acts of incredible kindness. So these are the half-orcs. Pretty awesome looking. Character creator customization. I mean, I don't need to go into that. There's thousands of videos out there. So I'm not going to bother with that. They also get the base race ability of assigning +2 to any ability and +1 to any ability. Their base racial speed is 9 meters or 30 feet. They get dark vision up to 12 meters, which is 40 feet. They are menacing. They gain proficiency in the intimidation skill. Let's see. Yeah, so right here, they get intimidation right there. And they have relentless endurance, which if you reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of becoming downed. So you fight that down stage for an extra turn, basically, unless somebody else is attacking you as well. If you got 2 enemies, one gets you to 0, you'll still be at 1. If another attacks you and then you fall down, then you're down. And then we've got savage attacks with them, the half-orcs. When you score a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, your damage dice are tripled instead of doubled. I cannot tell you how much damage you will do with this, but basically anytime you land a critical hit, and you might want dexterity for this, you would then deal so much more damage because they're tripled instead of doubled. And that's it for the orcs. Not much else to go on, or half-orcs I should say. And let's move on to the Dragonborn. Now these guys are pretty cool. I mean, just customizing them is a lot of fun. Other than that, their base racial traits, features are not too significant, but their sub-races are what really make them unique. And we're going to dive into each sub-race, and I'll tell you exactly what each one does. So the Dragonborn resemble draconic humanoids. They are a proud race that values clan and skills above all else. Once enslaved by dragons, they strive to be self-sufficient, not wanting to be beholden to anyone, not even the gods. So their race traits, +2 to any ability and +1 to any other. Base racial speed of 9 meters or 30 feet. And the intricacies of the Dragonborn come from their subraces, like I mentioned, and there are 10 total subraces. So let's dive into those. First, we've got the Black Dragon. So the Black Dragon, despite no ancestral links to the mighty creatures, these Dragonborn share the charcoal coloration and fizzling, acrid breath of black dragons. So what does that mean? Well, this subrace gives you acid breath, and it gives you draconic ancestry of resistance to acid, basically. And the other dragon that has the same is the Copper Dragon. So they are copper, but they are also acid breath, and they have a resistance to acid damage. Then we've got the Blue Dragons. The Blue Dragons, again, no correlation to the ancestral dragons, but they have lightning breath and they have lightning resistance. And the other dragons that have the same are the Bronze. So they have lightning breath and draconic ancestry of resistance to lightning. Then we've got the Bronze Dragons, or the Brass Dragons. They have fire breath and fire resistance. Am I missing something? I know there's one other dragon type that has this. Oh, Gold. There we go. Gold. They also have fire breath and they have fire resistance. Then we've got the Red Dragons. The Red Dragons also have fire breath and fire resistance. Then we've got the Green Dragons, which have poison breath and poison resistance. And the Green Dragons, along with the Silver Dragons... Oh, Green Dragons, okay. So this is what I wanted to say about this. I remember now. So this is one of the most unique subclasses in all of Dragonborn, because if you notice with red, gold, and brass, it's all fire. This is a cone. Okay, so the difference between brass, gold, and red is the gold and red, they do a cone fire damage attack, and the brass does a line or a column of fire damage. So depending on how you want to, use these attacks. So it's actually pretty important to differentiate there. I didn't notice this before, but I'm glad I noticed it now. So gold and red give you a cone fire breath. Brass gives you a column, so a line. So for the black, it's a cone. For the blue, it's a cone. For the bronze, it's a cone. And I think for the copper, it's also a cone. So the only one that gives you a column is the fire for brass. Then we've got the green, which is, again, a cone of poison. And this is the only Dragonborn subrace or even Dragonborn that does poison damage. And then there's a resistance to poison. Then we've got the silver and white. They do a cone of frost breath as well. And they have resistance to cold. And that's all of the subraces for the Dragonborn. And another thing you can do is, for example, and I'll just give you a little sneak peek here. Let's say you go sorcerer. Then you can use a draconic bloodline, and you can get a different ancestry. And that way your coloration, if you look here, it'll change. So you can get different colorations just to look cooler. But it also gives you some additional perks like poison and so on. So if I were to do wizard, I don't get that. It's only through the sorcerers that you get the draconic bloodline. I don't think you get that with any other. Yeah. So there's that. Then, basically, like I said, I'm just going to change this back to barbarian because it gets confusing otherwise when I'm doing the rest of the video. So yeah, that's the Dragonborn, and now we're going to move on to the elves. So with an ethereal countenance and long lifespans, elves are at home with nature's power, flourishing in light and dark alike. They have a base race speed of 9 meters or 30 feet. And they have Fey ancestry, which gives them advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put them to sleep. They have Elven weapons training, which gives them longsword, shortsword, longbow, and shortbow proficiency. And they've got dark vision up to 12 meters, which is 40 feet. And like everyone else, they get +2 to one ability and +1 to another. The other thing that they get as elves is a perception proficiency in perception due to keen senses. It's not listed here, so you want to make sure that you are aware of that as well. So you do get a race trait of perception as the high elf subclass, and the high elves are heirs of the mystical Feywild. High elves value magic in all its forms, and even those who do not study spellcraft can manipulate the weave. They also gain a high elf cantrip. I will be making a video on all the cantrips that you can use in the game. So it will contain things that come later in the game as well, but I will go over each of the cantrips. I'll rank them for you guys, just so you know how powerful or weak they are and in what situations to use them. I might even do a video for each cantrip at a time, and in terms of how important or OP they are. So keep an eye out for that. And then next up for the subraces, for the elves, we have the Wood Elf. These elves spend their reclusive lives in Faerun's forests, or Faerun's forests. Decades of training in archery and camouflage are enhanced by an otherworldly swiftness. They gain 1.5 meters to their movement, so they can travel 35 feet or 10.5 meters. They also get Mask of the Wild, which isn't listed here for some reason, but that gives them a proficiency in stealth. And I know I said that perception was a proficiency that you only get with high elf, but it's not. You get that with the entire elf race, as you can see here. You got the stealth proficiency from being a woodland elf or wood elf, and you've also got perception right here. And then you got 2 to select and put them into whatever you like, as with all the other races. So that's the elf race, and now we're gonna move on to the half elves. So half elves inherit blessings from both their parents, but at the price of never quite fitting in. They're curious, ambitious, and versatile. Half elves are welcome everywhere, but struggle without a community to call their own. So their race traits include a base, or for ability scores, you get +2 to any ability and +1 to any other ability score. Their base racial speed is 9 meters or 30 feet. They have civil militia, which the humans also have, which you gain proficiency in pikes, spears, halberds, glaives, light armor, and shields. They have dark vision, which they get from the elf side, 12 meters to 40 feet. And they also get Fey ancestry, which is also from the elf race, which gives them advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic cannot put them to sleep. So with respect to all of half elves, you do get a you don't get, actually, it looks like, a racial proficiency in any of these. However, if you were to select the high half elf, you do get the high half elf cantrip, and it's the same. A touch of Feywild remains in half elves with this bloodline, and even those untrained in magic possess a hint of the wild power, and that's why you can get a cantrip, and you can select from these to pick from the start. Then you've got the wood half elves, and these guys are like their wood elf parents. These half elves have a quicken stride and an eye for stealth. Yet many break away from isolation in Faerun's forest to explore the rest of the realms. So they get that extra 1.5 meters. And do they get that stealth? Yes, they do. They get that stealth proficiency. That's pretty nice. And then we've got the Drow half elves. These are most half Drow elves result from liaisons between Seldarine Drow and surfaces. While half Drow inherited a few magical gifts, they aren't usually raised in the Underdark. And they also get access to cantrip, but you can't select the cantrip in this case. You only get the Dancing Lights, which illuminates a 9-meter radius, great for areas like the Underdark and other areas that might be dark, or if you got fog cast on you, you could use this to be able to see, even though you have dark vision already. I would think as a Drow half elf. So let's take a look here. No racial proficiency for skills, so you just get the +2 from that aspect of it. So they don't get the dark vision, they get this cantrip instead, it looks like, actually. And yeah, that's pretty much it. With respect to the other cantrips that they can get, so once you hit level 3, you can get Fairy Fire, and at level 5 you can get Darkness. So even though you start off with this one cantrip, you do end up with 3 after level 5. So it's pretty cool in that sense. You don't get dark vision though, which is unfortunate, but you do get that versatility with them, with these cantrips. So that's the elves, or rather half elves, and now we're going to move on to Drow. So the Drow are the dark elves of the Forgotten Realms. They dwell in the Underdark, large subterranean caverns beneath the surface. Driven to the Underdark, most Drow have adopted a ruthless pragmatism. While loath-sworn delight in the good goddess's evil tenets, the Seldarine reject her attempt to overthrow the leader of the Elven Pantheon. So they have the +2, +1 to any ability, as does every race. They've got a base racial speed of 9 meters or 30 feet. They have Drow weapon training, which gives them proficiency in rapiers, short swords, and hand crossbows. They have superior dark vision, which gives them 24 meters or 80 feet of dark vision. And they have Fey ancestry, which they have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put them to sleep. They also have a proficiency in the perception skill due to keen senses, and you can see that here. Keen senses, guaranteed from race. And they also have Drow magic, which allows them to gain access to some spells. You don't see them here because you can only get them at level 3 and level 5, but you get Fairy Fire at level 3 and Darkness at level 5. The Drow have 2 sub-races. They do not offer anything more to your customization for skills and abilities, but they're different in terms of the worship. So first we've got the Loth-sworn Drow. They're raised by Lolth's cult in the city of Menzoberranzan. These Drow embody the virtues of their corrupt and merciless goddess. Lolth marks her followers with bright red eyes, so those in the Underdark will learn to fear them on sight. There they are. And then we have the Sildarin Drow, or Sildarine Drow. And they have white eyes. Or not red eyes, I guess you could say. And it looks like they... Oh, it's a barb. I don't know why I clicked on that. But anyways. Sildarin Drow can be found seeking allies from all over Faerun, aiming to settle their conflict with Loth. And each player by any means, and each other by any means necessary. And they don't have red eyes. So I'm going to give you guys a bit more info on the Lolth and the Sildarine Drow just because I found it. So the Lothsworn Drow, they are part of the cult of Lolth, the much reviled matriarch of the Drow pantheon. Lolth holds sway over spiders, the Underdark, and the wicked creatures of the Demon Web pits. Her primary goal is to corrupt all Drow, transforming them into heartless cultists. And then for Sildarin, or Sildarine Drow, the clergy of Elistre. Elistre is the goddess of good-lined Drow, beauty, song, and freedom. Dark Maiden desire balance between all races, and struggles against her mother Lolth's corrupt aims. So that's where the Sildarine Drow come from, and that's who they worship, and the Lothsworn worship Lolth. So that's it for the Drow. Let's move on to the Tieflings. They are descended from devils of the 9 hells. Tieflings face constant suspicion in Faerun. Thankfully, their arcane abilities make them natural survivors. So they get +2 and +1 to all an ability. Just like everyone else, they have a base racial speed of 9 meters or 30 feet. They have dark vision up to 12 meters or 40 feet. And they have hellish resistance. You have resistance to fire damage and only take half damage from it. So the Tieflings have 3 sub-races. They've got the Asmodeus Tiefling. And the Asmodeus Tieflings are bound to Nessus, the deepest layer of hells. These Tieflings inherited the ability to wield fire and darkness from the Archdevil Asmodeus's infernal bloodline. So you get a cantrip of Produce Flame at level 1, and you do get Hellish Rebuke at level 3, and you get Darkness at level 5. They don't provide anything additional here in terms of race skills, so that's unfortunate. Then you've got the Mephistophiles, or Mephistophels Tieflings. These are descended from the Archdevil Mephistopheles. And these Tieflings are gifted with a particular affinity for arcane magic. They gain the cantrip Mage Hand at level 1. At level 3, they gain Burning Hands. And at level 5, they gain Flame Blade. So they don't get anything additional either in terms of their race traits, as you can see here. Or race abilities, I should say. And finally, you've got the Zariel Tieflings. Tieflings from Zariel's bloodline are empowered with martial strength and can channel Searing Flame to punish their enemies. They gain Thaumaturgy or Thaumaturgy. I can never pronounce this. Thaumaturgy. I'm probably pronouncing it and butchering it. So anyways, they gain the Thaumaturgy cantrip at level 1. Then they gain Searing Smite at level 3 and Branding Smite at level 5. That's it for the Tieflings. Let's move on to the Halflings. So the Halflings are small yet capable. Halflings prefer the comforts of home and hearth, but their natural luck and dexterity makes them fine adventurers. Their racial traits. For base racial speed, they get 7.5 meters or 25 feet. They are lucky. When you roll a nat 1 on an attack or an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll. And they're also brave. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. Let's see if they gain anything additional for their species. Nothing, or race, nothing. But you do get the +2 and +1 bonus to the ability points. So they have 2 sub-races. They've got the Lightfoot Halflings. Stealthy but social, these halflings travel all over Faerun to make names for themselves. Their sub-race feature is advantage on stealth checks. So you gain a natural advantage on stealth checks. It doesn't really do anything to the skills here, but you gain an advantage on stealth checks. So anytime you are having a stealth check, you'll get to roll 2 dice rather, and the bigger one is the one that you will get to use. I am going to be making a video on dice rolls, so be on the lookout for that as well. And next up, we've got the Strongheart Halflings. These are legend. Legend has it that Dwarven blood gave Stronghearts their hardiness, resistant to poison and wellsprings of endurance. These halflings easily hold their own, and their feature is they have advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison damage. So advantage on saving throws against poison basically means they roll 2 dice and the higher one gets used. That's it for the halflings, and let's move on to the gnomes, or genomes as some people call them, which is really weird in my opinion, but some people do. They're small, clever, and energetic. Gnomes use their long lives to explore Faerun's brightest corners and darkest depths. They have a race speed of 7.5 meters or 25 feet. And they have gnome cunning. You have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. So basically they're rolling 2 dice. The bigger one gets used. And they have 3 sub-races actually. For their first sub-race, they gain history as a racial feat or racial trait proficiency for the rock gnomes, because they're commonly seen gnomes on Faerun's surface, and rock gnomes are named as such for their hardiness and affinity for metal. And they also get dark vision up to 12 meters. And Artificer's Lore gives them proficiency bonus to history checks, as we saw, and it's 2x the history bonus. So, as you can see here, you get +3 to it. And then next up, we've got the subrace of Forest Gnomes, even smaller than their cousins and twice as reclusive. Forest Gnomes are a rare sight in Faerun. They master magic and craftsmanship in their distant, idyllic groves. They get the access to the spell Speak with Animals, and they also gain dark vision up to 12 meters. And then finally, we've got, and I don't think they get any racial trait here. Yeah, that's correct. And then we finally got the Deep Gnome, and Deep Gnomes are more guarded than their service cousins. Deep Gnomes survive in the Underdark with dark vision and skillful stealth. So they get superior dark vision, 24 meters or 80 feet, and they get camouflage. You have advantage on stealth checks. What that means again is you roll 2 dice and the bigger one gets used when you're doing a saving throw, or not a saving throw, rather a check or a saving throw against stealth checks. And that's it for the gnomes. And next up we've got the dwarves. As durable and unyielding as their homes of stone, dwarves are some of the finest warriors, miners, and smiths of Faerun. You get +2 and +1 to any ability score, as you can see there. And there are 3 sub-races. But first, we'll go into the race features of the dwarves. So, you get a speed of 7.5 meters per turn, or 25 feet. You get Dwarven Combat Training, which gives you proficiency with battle axes, hand axes, light hammers, and war hammers. You get dark vision up to 12 meters or 40 feet. And finally, you have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance to poison damage as Dwarven Resilience. So the 3 sub-races, the first of which is Gold Dwarf, but before we dive into that, actually let's do it. These dwarves are known for their confidence and keen intuition. The culture of their deep kingdom values family, ritual, and fine craftsmanship. So the Gold Dwarves, they gain a subrace trait of Dwarven Toughness. What that does is your hit point maximum increases by 1, and increases by 1 again every time you gain a level. So they will become beefier and beefier as time progresses, basically. Then you got the Shield Dwarves. Great losses in ancient wars against goblins and orcs have led these dwarves to adopt a cynical mindset, but they will endure anything to restore their ancestral homelands. And they get a subrace feature of Dwarven armor training. You have armor proficiency with light and medium armor. Finally, got the Duergar or Duergar. These are once enslaved, or these were once enslaved by the Eldritch and Eldritch Mind Flayers. Duergar adapted to freedom with harsh practicality. Their cold demeanors and gift of stealth are well known throughout the Underdark. So they gain superior dark vision, up to 24 meters or 80 feet, and they gain Duergar resilience, which gives them advantage on saving throws against illusions and against being charmed or paralyzed. They also gain some spells. At level 3 they gain enlarge, and level 5 they gain invisibility. So it's all listed here, but that's something that you can look forward to as a Duergar. A dwarf. You will gain some spells at level 3 and level 5 as well. And that's it for all the races. So we've gone through all, I guess, 28 sub races and 11 races. So that's it for that. That's all the races you can play in Baldur's Gate 3, at least so far. I hope you found this video helpful, learned something new about the mechanics associated with each race, and make sure you subscribe for more mechanics and tips and tricks for Baldur's Gate 3 in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. Memberships are on, so feel free to become a member. That'll help me out a lot on the channel, and I look forward to seeing you all in my live streams in the future and in the next video. See you guys. Have a good one.